What's up, everybody? How you doing? Happy Sunday night. Happy Sunday night from the cough-filled, chillin', lazy vibe of this Phillips Sullivan household where we're all fallen ill from the sickness. Some type of weird virus from Sage playing with all these kids running around and stuff. And I'm sure if any one of you have toddlers, you know exactly what we're talking about. And so, of course, I mean, I feel like I was sick like 2 or 3 times in like a decade or something. Maybe if that. And it would usually just be like a common cold, be done with for like after 2 days. But since having a toddler, especially being a toddler, not just a newborn, but like specifically they're running around with other kids. It feels like it's never ending getting sick. It's incredible. I did not see that coming or expect that whatsoever. But luckily, Chelsea, who is pretty heavily pregnant, pretty close here to the end, she's due in December, um, mid-December. So hopefully everything goes good with that. But she has not completely caught this illness. She feels a few symptoms, but not as bad as Sage and I. So that's a very good silver lining. And we've taken some precautions to make sure that hasn't occurred. And so Sage and I have been doing a lot of hanging out, um, chilling and relaxing. He's eating his watermelon popsicles. We're chilling, and of course, we get up yesterday and we watched the LSU Vanderbilt game together. And I'm like, it's first morning kickoff of the season. I'm going to watch it with Sage while Chelsea sleeps in. And I'm easing back. Sage is so easy to watch games with because he'll ask you questions about the game. He's not like all distracting, trying to grab things or be nuts. He's like, Dada, what's that? What are they doing with that? Or Dada, why did they push him? They tackled him. Just stuff like that. He's involved in it, or he's just kind of off playing, doing his own thing. But even my 3-year-old son just said, like, it was very strange. He makes these random kind of like proclamations about some of the teams, usually LSU, or it's messy, watching soccer. He thinks everyone with black hair is messy now. But he'll say these certain things. But what he said about LSU, I thought it made absolute sense. He said LSU slow. And I'm like, oh my God, that's absolutely correct. LSU is slow, just a slow starting, slow moving team. And even my 3-year-old, paying half attention, could understand that. And yes, he knew exactly the uniform of the team. He knows who he's talking about. And this was a shocking loss. We were told all week this is going to happen, that LSU could lose this game, that LSU could fall off that precipice, and really have a breakdown moment here. And I'm also thinking, hey, maybe this is the breakthrough, a healthy Nuss. As Nuss goes, this team's going to go okay. But then, as I said on my appearance on the Go team on Wednesday night, before the Vanderbilt game, I said, oh God, I want to give like a perfect, like, hey, we're going to be fine. Nuss is going to get healthy and lead us back. We're going to be good. Believe in the team, rah, rah, rah. But I kept thinking about that offensive line. And I kept asking my guy, Daniel, who's offensive line dude, used to coach offensive line in high school. And I know people would go, huh. Well, but guess what? It seems like the guys in high school are teaching better technique than the guys in college right now, because it's not just LSU are having some of these weird technique issues. but it's been rampant and playing guys in the wrong spot. There's a philosophy problem with Brad Davis as well, with the offensive line, where a guy like Paul Mubenga, my guy Daniel made a great point about this. I have to give him credit for this because it was such a astute point. Paul Mubenga is more finesse and more athletic of a offensive lineman. What is he doing at guard? You're just trying to maybe fit in the guys you think are the best into the lineup and put a round hole in a square peg type of thing. It's even worse. Putting a guy like that at guard just to try and get him in the lineup is crazy, because you know what's going to happen. And then you see it happen and you still keep him in there, not only for a season, but another season until he gets injured. And the same thing with Weston Davis. He's at right tackle. It's not working. Carius Kern should be coming in. Carius Kern's he's going to be a guard. His position shouldn't be at right tackle. But even he is better than Weston Davis and was playing at a far higher level than Weston Davis. And Brian Kelly told us right to our face, I know better than you. I know better than you. We're going to play through whatever. We're going to live through whatever. We're going to, die by the results, whatever Weston Davis does for us or doesn't do for us. We're going to live through it. We're going to live with it because we believe it. Is he like the next Will Campbell, the next Emory Jones? Because we've seen no indications of that. Think about Will Campbell's freshman year. Think about like his worst moments of his freshman year. Probably the Florida State game with Jared Verse. He still was able to like pancake the shit out of Jared Verse on a few of those plays. He still had a ton of like resolve to come back from some of that humiliation, and actually had a pretty damn good showing for his freshman debut. Weston Davis has no resolve in these games. When he is beaten mentally, it is over. Dylan Stewart cooked him and continued to cook him and continued to roast him. And when you have a tackle that is getting beat, it destabilizes the guard, then it destabilizes the center. It is like a domino effect. And one by one, everybody is affected. Everybody's affected. I'm going to be pouring my son some Sprite while we're doing this. So if you hear some like water sound, don't think there's anything nefarious going on. But with this LSU Vanderbilt game, I mean, there's so many ways in which LSU have found themselves being beaten under Brian Kelly. Like, we've been beaten in every possible way you could be beaten under Brian Kelly in the most insane of circumstances. Absolutely throwing games away. Absolutely dominated from first to second to last. At home, away, all of it. All of it you've experienced. All of it you've been through. And the question we should all be asking ourselves isn't, is this exactly what you expected from Brian Kelly? We're past that now. We're past the honeymoon period. We're past the getting to know you period. We are now at the show me, deliver results, or else period. And I think we're even past that at this point. He said, judge me on year 3. It's now year 4. And everything he said before this season about the money invested, about the offensive line, about the doubters, all this stuff, it rings so hollow. It rings so hollow because nothing he says is followed up with action. Nothing he says is followed up with action. And these press conferences are getting so tiresome. These press conferences failed to execute. We got outcoached. We got blah, blah. We got to play better. We just got to play better. Koki, I understand. You have to ask the question, but we got to play. He gets all personal with the reporter and then kind of gives them just a kind of shit answer. And our media have been way too polite, way too respectful. I feel like and so the fan base, I think the first 2 to 3 years of Brian Kelly's reign at LSU, there was almost like this giant cotton wool haze of protection that was wrapped around this man that said, you cannot, you shall not, you dare not criticize or say anything bad about this guy, or else this and this and this and this and this and this and this got happen. And for me, I've always played it like this. If Kelly does something great, I'm going to give him credit. If Kelly does something bad, I'm going to call him out on it. If Kelly does something I don't think is right for LSU, if Kelly does something that, etc., I'm going to call it like I see it. If Kelly is the guy for LSU, I'm going to call it like I see it. If Kelly isn't the guy for LSU, I'm going to call it like I see it. That has bothered some people because they expect you to be on a team. And then they're like, wait a minute. I thought you were on our team. You're supposed to say this. Because that's what people like Blake Ruffino and whatever, they say that they're supposed to fight with the 2019 national champion, even go to that length. Disrespect the 2019 national champion, pretend you know better, just to go to the lengths of defending this narrative, of protecting this person. And it was a shroud of you cannot, you dare not. You'll be absolutely exiled if you question this man. He's paid $10 million, damn it, a year. And you and I are just peons compared to this man and what he can do and what he has done. And you and I don't make even anywhere close to the amount of money as he does. So we better shut up and really get in line, because Brian Kelly is here to stay, because he deserves to be head coach at LSU for 10 years. No matter the record, no matter the feeling of the team, no matter the performance level of the team, no matter how far down the reputation of LSU, the threat level of LSU, the fear factor that LSU used to drive into opponents, no matter how far that stuff slips, Brian Kelly is here to stay, because he has the most outrageous contract you've ever seen outside of Jimbo Fisher's. Both conveniently, crazily signed and set up by the same athletic director, Scott Woodward. Now, I think Scott Woodward does a hell of a job. Jay Johnson, Kim Mulkey, even, saying we're going to go with Coach O, riding with Coach O at the time. And the easy thing maybe would have been to fire him and do whatever it took to get Tom Herman, which we saw how that would have worked out. And he's had a bunch of successes at LSU. But the Brian Kelly experiment, maybe it was doomed from the start with a contract like that. With a contract like that, maybe you set this thing up to fail. And maybe it was the only way to get it done. I'm not 100% sure. I think so. I think that's probably obvious. I don't think LSU's like, hey, we got to give this guy some money just for free. Like, hey, yeah, as tribute. Yeah, bro, here's $10 million, more than we want to pay. Like, that doesn't happen. Obviously, This was the going rate for Brian Kelly to get him out of Notre Dame, where he was already handsomely paid. But this was that mega deal. And I don't blame Brian Kelly for taking it. I don't blame Brian Kelly for how he may have reacted to it even. He's human. He's a human. But there are certain people who, because they are highly paid and because they carry this title, cannot be questioned, cannot be doubted. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'll never subscribe to that. And in fact, it is my job to hold those people accountable before the fan base. That's our job. And so rarely you see that actually done and actually, executed by the media. But I get it. It's a tough situation where your access can get pulled quick if you don't toe the line, or maybe your credentials don't get pulled, but those calls for those interviews, they're not going to be, given. And I've seen both sides of this, and I'm not really going to get into that too much, but there was a kind of like, you cannot question this man. He is going to be a perfect fit. Everything's going to be fine. Fall in line with Brian Kelly no matter what, or die, and I don't think that was helpful, because Brian Kelly right out of the gate made some crazy blunders. Firing Corey Raymond. I love Robert Steeples, man. I love Robert Steeples. He's one of the coolest people I've gotten to know doing this job. He's not Corey Raymond, and he'll tell you that. Corey Raymond is a special coach. And you see him come back, and look what LSU's secondary looks like. Right back to, being at least a whole different standard, a whole nother level, a whole galaxy better than we were previously the last few years with him gone. So there was some moves. Brian Polian, of course, getting rid of Greg McMahon. Some could say getting rid of Tommy Moffitt as well. I maybe won't go that far, because there was some things that were going on that maybe Tommy's time had run out at LSU. And Tommy's one of the guys who built that culture, that establishment, but maybe some of his ideas and methods were outdated at the time. Maybe he needed to have a sabbatical and kind of sharpen his game. And maybe staying in position as the head trainer at LSU, maybe that he wouldn't have the opportunity to do that. Maybe he wouldn't have the opportunity to do that. Garrett St. Pierre says, is it true LSU made you delete that tweet earlier? Absolutely not. No. I deleted that tweet because I didn't want the firestorm, but also I take that back. It's not that I didn't want the firestorm. I understand the firestorm is going to be a byproduct of what we do. If you're, hitting heavy and you're actually going to try and play ball and actually play the game of calling people out, doing your job correctly, being an actual journalist. There's going to be people who are going to get upset by that and say you're a liar or whatever. That's going to happen. Duh. But it's always funny how people are so quick in the political world. We all know that the official statement is usually bullshit. And the official, the subject of the story is, of course, going to deny things. But in the sports world, we haven't seemed to grasp that, where Of course, these people are going to say that's bullshit or deny. Of course, these people are going to come out and say, "How dare you," etc. So, like, sometimes maybe don't always trust the official narrative, but um, you know, LSU did not make me delete a tweet. No, and that tweet wasn't completely in reference to Brian Kelly either. So I think people are getting a little ahead of themselves. So I don't know. I think we'll just have to wait on that. But this, I just saw that comment and had to address that. But thank you for watching, brother. I'm not trying to be combative or anything like that. I'm just trying to explain that, like, absolutely not. Like, I did not get a call from anyone and delete that now. Like, yes, I actually was messaged by Brian Kelly's son, Kenzel Kelly, a linebacker on the team. And I actually tried to write a profile and tried to do a podcast with Kenzel because I thought it would be a very cool story to talk about. Hey, coach's son, how is it? But you're actually close friends with the Weeks brothers, stuff like that. Like, I thought his story was way cool. He had some harsh words for me. I won't say what, but I get why. And I understand that, but he we need to stop having kid gloves with the head coach of LSU. This is not the time for that. This is not the time for half measures. There were a lot of bad moves. Firing Corey Raymond to begin with. Maybe you could say firing Blake Baker. I understand he was linebackers coach, not defensive coordinator, but you could have feasibly seen him make that transition, make that move. And I understand he's not without blame for some of LSU's errors too. But I don't think he's just the sudden trash people think he is all of a sudden. But Brian Kelly's made some poor moves with the staff that have cost LSU a lot of money. Brian Kelly has gone out, we wasted a lot of years. 2022, we made an SEC title game with that team. We made an SEC title game with that team. Think about that. We beat Alabama with that team. Think about it. If we actually are able to get a few more top prospects, a few more Mekhi Wingos, like we did in that transfer portal cycle, maybe LSU wins a national championship or competes for one that year. But also, of course, 2023, who can, obviously, that's like, a main narrative of Brian Kelly. You wasted a championship season with a Heisman quarterback. There's really no other way to put it. There's no other way to put it. A second overall pick, a dude who averaged 10.8 yards per play, and you wasted him with, you could have fired Matt House halfway through that season and just gone back to a very basic strategy defensively, and it would have held serve, and maybe you beat Michigan in a title game that year. Maybe you survive Alabama. I mean, there was some big injuries to LSU before Alabama. You were without Mekhi Wingo for that game. He was an All-American defensive tackle for you. And he had probably one of his better games against Alabama in 2022, helping us win that game. He had like 3 batted passes, but the third one wasn't counted officially because of the ref being an idiot and not seeing that a pass was deflected on this certain play. And it kept Alabama's drive going. Luckily, it didn't cost LSU the game, but just trying to point to Mekhi Wingo and kind of his point in here and how he was a great player. If you had added a few of those type of players in 2022's transfer portal, you recruit better. Maybe you could get these guys. But that's the thing too is Brian Kelly has done some good things at LSU. He has circled the wagons around the state of Louisiana in a recruiting way far better than Coach Ed Orgeron did. And Coach Ed Orgeron is like 50 times the recruiter is Brian Kelly. And that's because Brian Kelly delegated that work to Frank Wilson, delegated that work to Sherman Wilson. J.R. Belton did a lot of this work. So many different guys involved, but namely those guys, specifically those guys. And now you actually have like a dream team staff around Brian Kelly. You even have Sam Petito on staff. You've got all these guys back at LSU. You even got Jeff Martin as well. You've got a long list of luminaries on this staff, and where's this going? Because this team isn't fun anymore. This staff isn't fun anymore. They don't play an exciting brand of football. They don't look like they're having fun playing football. It looks like everything is a grind, like everything is a really big push. And it's upsetting for me to take. It's upsetting for me to take because it's like this is a team that coming into this season, man, national championship talk, competing for a title talk, everything on the table. Heisman quarterback, year 2, magic of the year 2, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins. You know, it's a shame because this defense has actually played out of their mind. But now people can just say, well, yeah, they did it against lower level teams. Even though we looked at our first 6-7 games on the schedule and felt like preseason, wow, that's like a gauntlet before the gauntlet. You know, you could lose 2 or 3 games in that part of the season. All of us kind of thought that. It turned out that, yes, a lot of those teams are some of the weaker teams. But it was still impressive by the defense because they basically had to win these games themselves. Don't argue with me, just get rid of them. They had to win these games themselves. You know, they had to play against the opposition offense and the ineptitude of their own at the same time. I mean, they played so many plays this season. It's incredible. It's incredible how many plays this team has had to go. I mean, this defense has had to go out on the field for time after time after time. And if you feel like that didn't play a factor in getting guys hurt, losing guys for the season, the defense allowing more points and yards, then you're absolutely stupidly mistaken. I got to be honest. Like, you're not fully watching the game. You're just like, oh, defense isn't playing well, so everything's terrible. Defense sucks. Like, you've got to look at it a little bit deeper than that and see the kind of cause and effect. I'm not going to defend the defense at all costs. They were a major part of the reason LSU lost the game yesterday. That's really obvious. You can't get away from that fact. But we can't just sit here and pretend like the offense playing like abject garbage for 6 out of 7 games and the defense never having a day off, never having a drive off, everything has to be perfect. If you allow a touchdown here, there's no way our offense could come back in this game. Everything's on the line. Your defense makes it look all comfortable and safe. You're putting everything on that defense. After a while, that dam's going to break. In modern college football, modern football of any kind, where offenses have so many advantages, that dam is going to break. And it's such a shame, because if this offense could have pulled its own weight even just a little bit, I'm so intrigued to see what this team could have been. Because right now it's not fixable. I wish I could sit here and tell you this is how LSU can fix this. This is how LSU can get to 10-2 in a playoff spot. Right now it's going to have to be on God, like pure luck here to get to 10-2 in a playoff spot. What's up, my man? Paul Tarver, he says, voice sounds stronger today. Thank you, brother. It's still not good. But I feel like I feel better. Like I'm taking a major leap in feeling better. It's just, bleh. Hate this thing, man. Wish I wasn't sick. He says expected better time management and play calling versus Miles, and more discipline versus Coach O. Sometimes better, but I scratch my head with BK way too much. I'm not sure what you're meaning. Versus, I'm kind of confused by the versus part. You're meaning you expected play calling versus Miles and more discipline versus Cook. I'm not sure what you mean, but Brian Kelly's had terrible timeout management as well. There's been times that they call the timeout and then have a penalty still after the timeout, where the coach is literally on the field coaching you. You should be able to go in there and get it right, and because they just coached you, you get it wrong. Or the coaches are just with you and you start the game slow and terrible. Or right out of half, coaches have been with you, you come out of half playing terrible. We've seen that with Kelly over and over and over and over again. This is a team that should have been competing for a national championship. And now it could be a lost season. We're looking at another lost season for LSU. That is a tragedy. When you're looking at Mansour Delane's going to be a first-round pick. With Weeks is going to be up there. Harold Perkins is a complete enigma. I don't even know what to think about Perkins at this point. Perkins might even come back another year after this. The year started great for Perkins against Clemson, and everyone thought they figured it out. I heard that from Charles Hannegriff. I heard that from Matt Moscona. I heard that from everybody. They figured Perkins out. They figured out how to use him. This is going to be sweet. And what we watched with Perkins has been hesitant. He's been timid. He's been beaten way too many times. He's been outsmarted. He's been out-juked. He's overrun things. He's been over-aggressive too many times. He's been out-physicaled too many times. he's been just straight up blocked into the into the absolute earth, into the crust of the earth a few too many times. And it's almost like, Whit Weeks was out there with you and was kind of like, this is why I was saying Whit Weeks needed to start in 2023, because he not only allowed Perkins to do his thing, his speed, his athleticism, his recovery would help Perkins be able to take some of those risks and get away with them. Well, here's what happens when you don't have Whit Weeks on the field. Some of those risks that are taken, some of those plays that you're trying to make, and you shoot the gap and you miss, that dude could be gone. Those are the type of athletes you're dealing with. That dude could be gone. And you saw these moments, these awkward moments with Perkins and PJ Woodland.
You gotta have Woodland stay outside. Woodland cannot get sucked in there like that. You gotta have Woodland stay outside. Woodland cannot get sucked in there like that.
I actually disagree with myself here. As I did on the show yesterday. Perkins needs to understand Woodland's on a blitz there. Woodland's supposed to go flying in at the quarterback, and you need to kind of circle to the right around him, but like around him in kind of a bubble way so that you contain. You don't get broken out to the outside. No matter what, you're able to slow and get in the way of that guy. Even if you can't get him down, even if he jukes you out of your socks, you are physically there to like fall into his path even. Like that's why you're in the way in these certain places, where you're supposed to be matters in football. Because literally your body can absolutely just make the difference by simply being there. And Perkins doesn't know where to be on the field right now. He's all over the place. And I don't know if that's just coaching. I don't know if that's Perkins. I don't know if that's a miscommunications between Perkins and Baker. I don't know if this is a botched plan that was just for this game that maybe didn't work out. I'm really kind of blown away that Harold Perkins had a bad game against Ole Miss where he was anonymous and then getting beaten on other plays and then rebounds in a big way against South Carolina, has a great game against South Carolina. No one can deny that. People are saying, "Oh, I knew he sucked. I knew." And I'm kind of like, you were saying he was great last week. Like, let's calm down here a little bit. I understand it wasn't good this week, but let's calm down. He was good. He was back to his greatness against South Carolina. 2 TFLs, 1 sack, a bunch of tackles. Him and Whit Weeks playing like they should be this season. And both were a little light on the stat sheet. Both were a little light on, really making impact plays. Whit Weeks was actually light on snaps. He hadn't really played much. The ejection and a few, resting him some games. And then the injury as well now, taking off another game. But you really haven't seen the best from Harold Perkins. In fact, you've seen it go back to another positionless kind of quagmire, where he's in a free role, but is it too free? Does he need Whit Weeks to kind of hold his hand and keep Whit Weeks' brilliant linebacker ethos natural linebacker ethos to kind of keep everything in check, because he's got that right amount of old school, linebacker know-how, but he's also got the new school, the new age, brilliant side-to-side athleticism that can actually hang with and make up for a guy like Harold Perkins maybe shooting a gap and missing on a dual threat quarterback. And maybe Perkins needs that to excel, because we saw those guys dominate Lenore Sellers. We saw him dominate Lenore Sellers. So what the hell was this,
You know why Pavia is good is he doesn't hesitate. He just goes. Boom. He's gone. And he nearly scored. You cannot get caught in these, third and second and long plays.
This is a play that really hurts to watch. Just watch how LSU
Come on, guys.
are not ready for big boy football. And that was a better rep than we've seen in the past, that was a better rep. Dominic McKinley looking good there. Some other guys looking good.
You almost made the stand there. You should have made the stand there.
Everyone getting just pushed around.
How does this happen? Ooh, West had a shot. West, you gotta level everything into him. You gotta drive him back. Can't just stand up and make a hit. You've got to drive him. Drive him with your legs back.
West Weeks actually had probably one of the best games of any of our defenders outside of AJ Halsey. Even if he is sort of at fault for that touchdown, I still think that Perkins is very timid, and he doesn't jump in there to help either. There's also there's no chance for the linebackers when it's that close, 3rd and goal, an inch away or whatever. If your offensive line is dominating the defensive line, then the linebackers are just kind of like waiting for the guy to run into them into the end zone. Like, that's it. It's that easy. But I feel like, you look at the type of stats LSU's offense has, and it's not just even this season, but really the whole Brian Kelly era. And I think it's hard to even talk about the defensive issues. I think it's all around, because now you've seen a dysfunctional offense at its absolute worst, and then you've seen a dysfunctional defense at a program worst as well in 2023. So you've seen both of these really, really nasty program lows, really hard to swallow, thrown away seasons. Seasons where we all know we had championship level talent. Seasons where we all know that this team should have done something and came up way too short. And what does that tell you about Brian Kelly? When all the resources and all the horses and all the king's men and all the blah 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 come back again, you're like, every wagon has been circled. Alumni, everyone has gotten behind Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly has had the complete buy-in and support of the community for years. Brian Kelly has had absolute devotion from a lot of the fan base. where like they're going to block you and unfollow you if you even criticize him in any way, shape, or form. So I think it's about time, 4 years into this, you think, where we finally say, let's treat him like any other coach and actually ask him the questions that should be asked. Ask the questions that a guy like Billy Napier has to face. Well, had to face now. Billy Napier is actually a really good assistant. He'll be fine. He'll get it. He'll figure it out. The Florida thing did not work for him, but I think Billy Napier is actually a pretty good football guy. But Brian Kelly, where's the future here? What is the future of Brian Kelly and LSU? Does he even want to come back another year? Would he be like, you know what? I'm going to buy myself out of it. No, that's insane. But just think about next year now. You're not going to have Garrett Nussmeier as quarterback. You're not going to have Whit Weeks most likely is going to be gone. Harold Perkins might be gone as well. You're going to be missing some significant talents across your defense, from A.J. Halsey to Marcus Cooley, Mansour Delane, Jacobian Guillory. You're going to be missing a lot of guys. This was a big-time one-year deal for this team. A one-year deal, put this team together, try and pull an Ole Miss, a 2024 Ole Miss. And that really blew up in their face, putting all the chips into the middle of the table for one season. It really blew up in Ole Miss's face up in Oxford. Is that what we're about to see at LSU? Is that what we're seeing already at LSU? Have we reached the point where there's no going back, where this can't get better? This won't improve? The Brian Kelly experiment has failed? Have we reached that point?
This isn't the bad publicity. This is our meeting podcast.
As a Golden Globe nominee, I just think it's our duty to make the real Globe a little more golden.
Let's see here. Matt Plavidal says, why are we in season 4 and still cannot run block? Kelly doesn't care, otherwise he would have fixed this sooner. You really got to wonder if the dude cares enough. You pay someone that much money, how invested are they going to be? I've said it a few times already in this podcast, but like $100 million is going to change somebody. That's going to change somebody immediately. And let's don't pretend that it won't. It won't. It's gonna make you a different person. Matt Plavidal says, why are we in season 4 and still cannot run block? Kelly doesn't care, otherwise he would have fixed this sooner. Yeah, man, the offensive line coaching has been, the development hasn't been there. The recruiting has been great. The coaching hasn't been there. It's very weird. It's very weird. And LSU have put so much money already into this staff. They've put so much money into this staff. They've put so much money into this roster. And you at least believed you were going to get to that kind of college football playoff level. At least get in there. Get through a game or so. And I remember hearing a lot of esteemed journalists saying things like this. Yeah, I mean, if you don't make the playoff with this team, with this roster, with this staff, if you don't make the playoff, I mean, you're basically trying not to. Oh, yeah, if he doesn't make the playoff, this will basically expose him once and for all. Oh, yeah, if he doesn't make the playoff, with this team, I mean, he never will. Oh, if he won't make the play, you heard all of that. And so that it's not like now that's got to change because, we lost a tough game and you can't rub it into this guy. He's already going through a ton. This guy's already feeling. I don't feel bad for people with $100 million. I'm sorry. Not in this economy. I can't. Like, I'll feel bad if you lose a family member, a death in the family, you lose an arm or something. But I'm not going to feel bad for you if you, like, lose a car. Like, that sucks, but you have $100 million. You can go get one. You're fine. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't really, like, worry about the first world problems of people with $100 million, especially a head coach like Brian Kelly. And the smugness, the arrogance, when he talked about the way he knew offensive line better than you or I, Matt. He told us, he said, when we played this clip on our show not too long ago, he said, I know a thing or two about offensive line play. I've been doing this for 40 years. I think I know a thing or two about this. I've put in a lot of draft picks, a lot of first-round picks. I know what I'm doing. So he basically, and then he also said, we're going to have a really, really good offensive line. And he complimented Weston Davis specifically over and over and over. Told Wilson Alexander at some, like, letting out these birds out of the cage thing for Easter. He told Wilson Alexander that they were going to start Weston Davis at right tackle. He said that way, way well before fall camp. There was no competition. Weston Davis was going to start. And Brian Kelly let you know that. So I'm just saying, like, some of these things we should have saw coming from way long in the distance. And for anyone who was, I'm bullish on this offensive line because Brian Kelly is. If Brian Kelly said something and he knows offensive line play, then he must know. He must be totally on that. But, Brian Kelly said stuff about the offensive line in the past that did not pan out. Remember how good the 2024 offensive line was supposed to be? They're supposed to be a Joe Moore Award offensive line. They're supposed to be a powerhouse offensive line. And instead they got bullied by a 6-7, or is it 7-6, USC team. They got bullied. I was there. There's the proof. I was there and watched that 2024 O-line that had a top 5 pick that was far better in talent than this O-line and far more experienced than this O-line as well, get bullied by USC. But it was all talk of, we're going to control the game, we're going to beat teams down, we're going to be old school football here and old school ethos and all this stuff. And that sounded great. But what we indeed actually saw, even clear to this season, where your quarterback has a messed up knee, a messed up abdominal area, and at one point even had a a sprained ankle, so he had 3 injuries at one point. You had him throwing the football 38 plus times a game. You didn't even try to really run the football. You didn't even really try to run the football. You didn't try to really have a complete running game. And I think the reason, Matt, I've said this for a few times, Matt, I really do believe the reason LSU can't run block and haven't, Brad Davis hasn't developed guys really well for run blocking is honestly because Jaden Daniels took away his need to do that for 2 seasons. Jaden Daniels was so electric and so good. They were just kind of like, well, guys can kind of just be operating at half measures because Jaden Daniels is going to make them look good. Jaden Daniels is going to save their ass. And I think they really grew out of this run blocking thing. And then you saw, how else can you explain that 2024 O-line being so bad at blocking with the run? They were great pass blocking. They were awful blocking for the run. How do you explain that? The way I explain it is LSU have been bad at run blocking the entire Brian Kelly era. And Jaden Daniels, without all of his yards, some of these stats, I almost wish there was a way you could statistically remove Jaden Daniels' stats, just all of his stats, his rushing stats specifically, and see what the Brian Kelly era looks like. It'd be shocking. Joseph Bennett says, NIL ruined this season. Nuss, Perkins, Whit Weeks, too many commercials. Their minds are on money instead of concentrating 100% on football. I absolutely believe that. And cutting his hair and all this stuff and hanging out with this chick. The whole getting a girlfriend during the season thing, getting engaged before the season and Nuss's way, the drama of it being, the coach's daughter of another team, like, okay, all right, if that's what you want to do with your life, I don't think it's going to lead to some strong performances on the field, though. That's what I can say. And sad to say for Whit Weeks, he's been hurt now, and he has had a season where he's been really good when he's been on the field, but we haven't seen him on the field much. He's been hurt. He's been ejected way early. He's been rested a lot. Maybe another year would really do wonders for him, solidify him as a first-round pick. But I don't know. It's NIL is interesting because it giveth and it taketh away hardcore, bro. It really giveth and it really taketh away. NIL is something that I think it needed to happen, but the Wild West way that it started, the way in which it started, the culture in which it began with, the Lamborghinis at A&M, that type of stuff, man, we've gone down a rabbit hole. It's hard to say. I think if they had regulated it from the beginning, as they've started to now, and revenue sharing, things could have had a chance. But you let the cat out of the bag, and you let it get way to the extreme, where it is literally so money driven, all about money, that it's taken away from the field. It's taken away from actual competition on the field. It's actually worsened the product of the game itself. There's still games that have been epic. There's still been weekends that have been unforgettable this season. I love college football just as much as any diehard fan. I'm not going to pretend like I still don't watch it a ton, or I'm still not transfixed. Of course I am. But there is something lost. And it's not just tradition. People want to say it's all these old boomers with their traditions and their fraternities and sororities and all this stuff. I don't think it's just that. I think there's people used to give a fuck. It used to matter more than just you're paying me a job. I'm clocking in now as your linebacker, your starting quarterback. I'm clocking in now as I enter the building. It used to be everything. It used to really be everything for these players. And now you can see some situations where football might be third or fourth, maybe. You just have to go to the Instagram accounts. You just have to go. I mean, sometimes it's their people and their staff who run these accounts, not even them. But if we're already to that point with people and handlers and staffers and all this type of stuff in a team, then we're already in a bad direction, right? But and I'm not even ripping on people who have staffers in a team and all this stuff. Like, that's fine. It's all about how you do it. It's all about what's running your mind and what's ruling your mind. And if literally selling your soul for money, selling your soul for everything that you care about nonstop for money, that's not going to be good for anybody in any walk of life. Especially when you involve football, a game where men are literally going out there to destroy each other's bodies. Men are going out there to run into each other as fast as they humanly can and inflict as much human pain as possible upon the other. That is what football is about. And now you're paying those players in college to do it just like you would in the NFL. But here's the thing it also does, Joseph. Here's the thing it also does. It also means that no one can tell us, the fans, hey, you need to calm down. These are just college kids. These are just some student athletes. These are just some student. That's when you can say no. I contribute how much money to the school monthly? My money's going to these kids. You're playing for me in a way. You're literally an employee of me. You represent me as a part of the fan base, paying part of the fan base. So hell yeah, you can speak your mind now. That's where the line has been drawn at this point. So that's the side of it too that I see is, okay, we can pay the players. I've always been for paying the players. If we're going to do that, everyone has to be treated like adults. Everything has to be above board. Everything has to be in front of, nothing hidden. Everything has to be for real. No side deals, no weirdness that's going to lead you down paths that, yeah, they're going to lead you to something bad, way worse than just leading you away from football, but they're also going to lead you away from football. They can also ruin your life. And so I would like to see more education for the players about how to handle the pressures of this life, but with the money, but also to be educated on just how blessed they are in the position they're in, And maybe if they just simply didn't take it for granted and think money now grows on trees, and maybe if they understood that this can all be taken away in just a second like that, like what happened to Kyron Lacey, like what happened to Greg Brooks Jr., maybe they'll understand that, like, hey, I'm going to be more professional about this. Because for every student athlete that's, driving around, being a crazy Georgia player behind the wheel, there's other kids who are paid highly, but they're like a Mansour Delane. They do everything right. They're going to class. They're doing this. They're whatever, but they're perfectly good in the community. They're not going out and making life worse for people. They understand the gravity of their situation and the blessings of their situation. So I think it goes a bunch of different ways, my friend. But I love that comment. I love that. It's very interesting to think about all of it. Paul Tarver, my brother, says, BK said we had a plan to contain Diego Pavia, make him one-dimensional. Did not see that plan. Where did it go? Had all offseason to plan for all the mobile quarterbacks we'd face in 2025. Yeah, and, you actually had some backup quarterbacks who could have easily been the scout team quarterback for you as Pavia, and it would have worked really well. You could have had some type of simulation of that speed, some type of simulation of those movements, but it's kind of hard to even know if they've practiced that at this point. Remember last year, they didn't even know who Marcel Reed was. They didn't even know he existed. Remember that. And that wasn't Matt House. That makes it all the more disturbing. And I thought with what they did against Lenore Sellers and Cade Klubnik, who isn't quite a dual threat, but can really kill you with his legs, and every opportunity he had to do that against LSU, every one of our guys made him pay, punished him, didn't let him do it. You felt like we had this licked. Even if Trinidad Chambliss had a one-off against us, okay, we've overcome this. We just shut down Lenora Sellers, one of the best athletes in college football. A freakish athlete who I feel Lenora Sellers, if he gets drafted and goes to the right organization, where a smart type of Andy Reid building the Chiefs with Mahomes type of situation, he could really be a special quarterback for years. And that's a guy that they held to 19 rushing yards after he really had our number last year until we knocked him out of the game. We didn't have to knock him out of the game. We got 5 sacks on his ass. We were awesome against him. DJ Lagway, a guy who beat us the year before. We get 5 interceptions on the dude. We absolutely destroy him. And so there's just it's so frustrating because this team, we fell in love with this team early as just scrappy guys who were just going to keep fighting, and maybe they'll win it 24-10 or whatever, but we just care about wins, and we were falling in love with that. And then something's wrong with Nuss. Something is wrong with Nuss. What is it, Coach Kelly? You got to tell us. What's wrong with him? What's really wrong with our quarterback? And we didn't really ever get that answer until, Nussmeier kind of confirms it in an interview where the kid looked depressed. And it absolutely broke my heart to see Garrett that way. Garrett is someone who I absolutely think is a great kid. And it looked like his soul had been just absolutely hurt. And that's what happens when you just keep playing these kids through injury after 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 injury. We're talking about painkillers. We're talking about really going through the gauntlet of trying to fight through and play through injury. We all saw him hobbling. We all saw how bad it looked. And it wasn't the right move. It wasn't the right move. And LSU might only have one loss at this point, maybe no losses, if we maybe made that move. Because this defense, I think, is actually good enough to really hold some teams off here. And maybe if you control the football, you're able to actually run the football. You're able to actually keep possession of the football for longer than just 2 minutes. Maybe, just maybe, you don't lose to Ole Miss. Because you only lost by 5 points. And you only lose by 7 against Vanderbilt. So these are such obvious decisions to me where the sacredness of the quarterback position needed to be taken out of the factors of what the decision was going to be regarding Garrett Nussmeier. And when he wasn't okay to play against Ole Miss, you needed to surprise the world like coaches do and play your backup quarterback against Ole Miss, and maybe we win that game. Maybe we win that game. Not saying he's the guy for the future, but Nuss was hurt for that game. Now, here's something I really have to ask you. Now, whether you agree with that or not shouldn't even be the question. Think about this part. Do we have a coach who even has the balls to make that move? To even make that move? Does he even have the balls to make that move? Your team needs a spark. Your offense. Do you even have the balls to bench the quarterback who shares the same agent as you? Think about that for a moment. That really makes you think. He had the balls to call that 2-point conversion. Ever since then, ever since that Alabama win, things have gone downhill for Brian Kelly at LSU. Really, ever since that night he lost to A&M, things have gone downhill for Brian Kelly at LSU. It's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone sideways, it's gone around, it's gone back, it's gone forth. Heisman with 3 losses. It's been weird. He got hired. They preached everyone being on the same page. It looks like that's not the case anymore. No one looks on the same page. Brother Rob, what's up, my man? That's the problem. There might be some individual greatness with Brian Kelly's teams, but no collective greatness. No collective greatness. We've seen it very rarely. Rob Boudreaux also offers perk plan sucks right now. Brother, I don't know what they're doing with Harold Perkins. And I don't know what Harold Perkins is doing. And I don't know what the issue is behind that. I'm going to try and get to the bottom of that. Poe English says, what up, my guy? We really need an offensive coordinator. Kelly's trying hard to find in that's not winning us games. We need the old Kelly. The new Kelly's too full of excuses. Bro, this isn't the old Kelly or the new Kelly. This is Brian Kelly. This is who Brian Kelly is. The real Brian Kelly has stood up and shown you who he is. This is Brian Kelly. I just feel like this is who Brian Kelly has always been. And you wanted to give him opportunity. And I feel like we've been a lot more generous than he would be to us. And so I feel like, I don't really feel too bad about this. I feel like he has had opportunities for years to make it happen. And if you're seeing guys like Jacques Doucet kind of being over it, then I think that tells you a lot. They're not necessarily guys who are gonna screw this head coach. They're pretty party line, pretty follow the LSU playbook. And if a guy like that is getting sick of it, I think you know what's next. Miles was the Mad Hatter, lost us games with kooky calls and time management. After 19 season, lost team discipline, assignments blown. Joseph Bennett, I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Harold Perkins. Harold, I mean, you're paid like a pro now, bro. Like, you've got to answer to this. Like, it's not like we're going to feel bad for, the college student who's paid $2 million. What about Rob Bodro says, what about Perk standing there watching the fourth touchdown happen? I'm not sure exactly. Let me see if I've got video of it. No, I don't think I think I filmed it, but I didn't get it downloaded into the thing. I can't last much longer, guys. My throat's starting to kill me. Cole English says the defense played like Bo Pelini was coaching. John M says, why not just raise the buyout funds for the AD and head coach? Because that is absolutely ridiculous. Hey, millionaires, can the poor of this nation, the second poorest state in the country, pay for your assholes' terrible decisions again? Like, what is this? Like, I'm tired of that. Like, the people should not have to pay for this. The people should not have to pay for Brian Kelly's buyout. Come from the top boosters, corporate boosters, whatever. It should not come, very rich alumni. LSU has some extremely rich alumni. Some of the richest athletes we know of. Wherever it's coming from. But I'm not calling on them to pay or anything. I'm just simply saying it should not be coming from poor people in Louisiana. I think that's like, the poorest in Louisiana should not be paying for $100 million guy to walk away. Hey, I'm going to pay you to leave. That's just so. We're in such a gross society where there's people who are still working for $7 and less an hour. And then Brian Kelly and Jimbo Fisher have contracts where they're paid $500 million to leave type of shit. It's insane. This offense is as bad as 2020 defense. This O-line is not good. I see other teams get beat on the O-line, but LSU line just gets manhandled. That's a comment for my only run, toss, dive. Unfamiliar with Paul Travers is unfamiliar with Reed, a failure of all those analysts on staff. Should have done opposition research more thoroughly. Oh yeah, but man, they didn't even know about the existence of a backup quarterback. That's weird. That's crazy. That's like almost unheard of. Brock Heimel says, I like Kelly, but it's not going to get better. We need to go after Tulane's John Summerall. He's a winner, and he's young and turns programs around. Interesting. Interesting pick there. There it is. Rob Boudreau says, I think it was more on Nuss. I think he's afraid to lose his job. What was more on Nuss? I'm not. What was more on Nuss that he was afraid to lose his job? I'm not sure what you mean. But I'd love to understand what you mean, my brother. DJ says, out of all the problems that we have, I think the O-line is the biggest. Imagine scoring 35 points a game, even with all the other flaws. They can't pass block or run block effectively, score points. Bro, if we could score 35 a game, we'd be undefeated. And people are still trying to say our defense sucks. They haven't played anyone. Okay. Maybe we'll find that out against A&M and Alabama. Maybe we'll find out how elite they are. I don't think they suck. Not when your defense wins you games like this defense has. And if our offense could score just 25 points, 25 points, they'd beat Ole Miss. If we could just score 32 points, you beat Vanderbilt. We're talking about beating Vanderbilt. Like, good God. Anyway, y'all, we will dive deeper into this game. Thank you all for joining with me. I really appreciate you all watching and listening. Take it easy, everybody. And Sage, you want to say hi, everybody?
Yes.
Say hi.
Hi.
Love you, my buddy. All right, guys. You have a hell of a night. We'll talk to you soon. And go Tigers as always. LSU will come back again. LSU will come punching as always. It's A&M week. We got to get our FU on. And we got to have that same attitude as always with A&M week. We cannot let them kick us while we're down. We can't let it happen. Kelly or not. Can't let it happen. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good rest of your Sunday.